It can't be easy to be the second VR exclusive game based on the Walking Dead franchise to hit PlayStation VR in less than 5 months. Especially when the first, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, did practically everything right, garnering a 10 out of 10 from us here at Without Parole. But we had faith, considering that The Walking Dead Onslaught was in good hands and was being developed by Survios, who not only brought us Raw Data, Sprint Vector, Electronauts, Battle Wake, and Creed Rise to Glory, but also promised us a different take on the series. Certainly, these were the guys that could deliver a fun, arcade zombie shooter, right? Well, yes and no. Onslaught is divided into two main components: campaign story missions where you play as Daryl, and supply runs where you play as Rick, Carol, Michonne, or Daryl. Playing the campaign opens up more supply runs, and playing the supply runs opens up more of the campaign, so you'll be hopping back and forth between them pretty regularly. And that's good because the campaign story missions can be downright boring. In these, Daryl narrates as you slowly meander from location to location, grabbing supplies and weapons as you go. And despite looking fairly open-ended, it's just a single path that leads from point A to point B. There's no rush, no urgency, and worst of all, there's no threat. See, the very first thing you pick up as Daryl is a knife. And when I say that you can use this knife or any melee weapon for literally the rest of the game without ever having to upgrade it, speaks worlds about the non-existent difficulty, even on the hardest setting. In fact, guns pose so many problems that they're generally not even worth using. Accuracy requires that you steady the gun with your other hand, having to reload will only slow you down, and when 1, 2, or sometimes even 3 headshots don't take down a walker, then melee weapons, which are infinitely more powerful and can usually take down the undead with a single hit, will quickly become your weapon of choice. These problems also present themselves in the supply runs, but in my book, supply runs are where Onslaught shines. There's a PUBG-like horde of walkers constantly closing in on you, which, if you fall into, will drain your health until you find a way out. This risk-reward element forces you to dodge walkers whenever possible and make decisions fast. You'll run down the street grabbing any supplies you can find, but being able to enter practically any storefront along the way was awesome. Behind each of the doors are interesting interiors, and if you're lucky, you'll find huge supply drops, or possibly even items that residents of Alexandria back home have requested of you. If you're unlucky, you'll find unrewarding dead ends that'll make backtracking eat up valuable seconds on the clock. So it's a constant battle to stay ahead of the horde. There's no stamina meter and no inventory cap, making these runs feel fast-paced and arcade-like, and ultimately, what saves Onslaught from total mediocrity.
The herde's closing in on the safe house. You need to move.
Getting a ton of supplies home safely was also pretty rewarding, at least at first. You take these items and upgrade your base, which is essentially a skill tree for your character, but since you're already so powerful to begin with, none of the upgrades made any significant impact to the gameplay. Sure, I had more health and I found more ammo, but when I was barely losing any health or using ammo to begin with, what's the point? The same holds true for weapon upgrades. Upgrading a pistol to allow for one-hit kills would have been awesome, but instead we get the option to let it hold more ammo or attach a laser sight. Where are the rocket launchers and Molotov cocktails that could make taking out hordes of walkers actually fun? It doesn't help that the entire game looks bland and washed out, and I think most of that has to do with the total absence of any dynamic lighting. There's plenty of variety in the environments, and having 20 plus walkers on screen at once is cool, but everything just looks so flat and stale. There's no flashlight or missions that give off any kind of horror vibe, and for a game that's about surviving the zombie apocalypse, I find that to be practically inexcusable. What's sad is that there's a decent length, 7-hour campaign hiding beneath all the issues here, and I actually think that the core gameplay of scavenging and exploring the different environments is fundamentally enjoyable. But Daryl's story drags and drags, barely goes anywhere, and it's obvious that trying to tell a story that was canon within the AMC universe was ultimately more trouble than it was worth. The supply runs are fun, but killing walkers is straight up boring, and pales in comparison to Killing Floor Incursion, Arizona Sunshine, or of course Saints and Sinners. So my recommendation? Give Survios some time to patch this one up before taking the plunge.
Let's move!
right there is a genuine feeling of success and pride and a job well done.